Cool, and we're good to go. All right. So this one is going to be talking about, we really get this a lot is, this is my kid's first time going to university. This is my first time going to university. No one else in my family has, or it's been a long time. I don't know where to get started. That's kind of what this is about. And typically what we see when we talk to parents is there's three primary things that they're always curious about. One is the academics, when do they do this? When do they do that? The other one is, money. How do they do this? When do they do it? And the other one is also just keeping up to date. How am I going to remember this stuff? How am I going to keep notified about this stuff? So we at St. Peter's have developed a nifty little, I guess, honestly, a piece of paper that just kind of helps keep you organized. It doesn't have dates on it. We figured we'd just translate some of that stuff into what we have here. And now what we're primarily going to be talking about St. Peter's and the University of Saskatchewan because the two institutions are quite interconnected, but I've included some U of R stuff in there as well. But the same timelines generally hold true for other institutions as well. So we're going to kick right off into the academics component of it. So primarily, I'm going to be talking about these 6 things that you see up on your screen there, because those just tend to be some of the most common things that we get asked, or that there's some good information that you should probably be aware, just so it can help plan what you have. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. You'll also get the opportunity to talk to me directly afterwards if you're interested. Because again, this is just a brief snapshot. There is quite a bit more here as well. Jumping right into it, there are academic advisors at St. Peter's College, USask, Regina, and and any other post-secondary. If you're at a post-secondary institution, there's going to be other advisors in there, and these are people who are going to they help you with, of course, the academic components. But these people are gateways to academic, personal, educational, health-related needs that you might have, questions that you might have, and they can point you or provide you with resources to all of those things. So it's not just how do I register for classes? It's also, I'm really worried I'm not going to succeed. I'm really worried about my mental health. They can help you with all of those different things. So your academic advisor is typically going to be the first stop you go to for, I need help, or I'm not sure what to do. And it doesn't matter if it's not for classes specifically. They navigate you through a whole bunch of stuff. When you're on a big campus, they typically recommend that you meet once a year. And it could take up to 2 weeks to get an appointment. That varies. Sometimes you can get in the day of, sometimes you can get in the next day. There are drop-in times available. But if it's if it's the end of August, start of September, and same thing like December and January, that's where it can get up to 2 weeks, because a lot of people choose to really procrastinate and wait till last second for a lot of things. So if you're on those big campuses, you have 500 people who need to talk to 2 advisors. So it gets very, very competitive for a seat there. When you're at St. Peter's College, we recommend you at least see us once a year, but typically you'll see us at least a couple of times a year, just because for us, it's very much a lot more drop-in time. So you're able to get that immediate help that you need. Again, whether it's academic, personal, educational, or health related. And I didn't put it in there, but I guess financial as well. And that's on the main campuses as well. And we at St. Peter's College also assist with that, and as is our finance officer. So when it comes to choosing classes, this is a really big one that we get asked about a whole lot. How do I choose classes? How do I know which classes to choose? When do I register? And did I do it right? And how do I register? So those are all really good questions. Typically what we recommend is the first thing you're going to want to do is just figure out what program you're interested in. And if you're unsure about that, we have an upcoming session this week that kind of details about, how to figure that out. You want to find your program at programs.usask.ca. Again, assuming St. Peter's College or USask. Typically what happens is in the first year, because it's primarily for first year students, you're going to have a couple of classes where you must take, you must take your chemistry because you're doing a science degree. Things that you should take. We recommend trying to get this class out of the way in year 1. And try and get your math done as early as possible, just because while it's fresh in your head from high school. And then the other one here is student choice. Take what you want. You have, this many classes, you can do whatever you want with them. And those last two, you should take this and you have the option of taking whatever you want. That's where students typically struggle the most. That's where parents struggle the most, is because, it's going down the cereal aisle. You have to buy one box and there's 50 boxes there. Which one do I choose? So typically what ends up helping out there is you should figure out, what classes you're interested in taking, narrow those down, and then we can help build a plan to get you in. Because we always get asked, oh, what's the easy class? Well, we offer 60 classes. You have a bunch of options. USask offers like 100 classes. You have a bunch of options. If you are on one of the big campuses, whether you're going to, the Saskatoon campus or the U of R Regina campus, and even if you're going from St. Peter's to those campuses, the biggest thing we always say is you need to really make sure that you have a plan B and a plan C. And so what that actually means is that let's take like a 100 level English class. Almost every degree requires something like that. So, U of S, they get like 4,000 or 5,000 incoming students every single year. I think it's actually more. And, if there's one class of 300 seats, that's going to get filled up quite literally instantly. The second registration opens. So you really need to make sure that, if that one's filled up, I'm going to go in this one. If that one's filled up, I'm going to go in this one, just to make sure that you're able to get what you need. Because as we talked about earlier, if you don't get what you need, you don't know what you do need, and you don't have any plan A, B, or C's, or those are all full, it can take you up to 2 weeks to talk to that advisor to help you out and start that whole process again, which just makes it harder and more difficult as it goes on. Something you should really think about when you're choosing classes themselves is it can take some, you have to factor in the amount of time. Most degrees are set up so that you'll graduate in 4 years, but that's assuming you only take fall and winter classes. You can take spring and summer classes, for example. Some people are okay, I don't need to graduate in 4 years, I'll just graduate in 5. Most students will take what's called a full load, which is 5 classes in the fall. Sorry, and that's supposed to be 5 in the winter, not 3 in the winter. But then a full time in terms of like legal status and tax statuses, you're in 3 classes in fall and 3 in winter. What we typically say is 1 class is 6 to 9 hours of class time and homework per week. So if you're in 5 classes, that's a full-time job right there. That is your full-time job. So you should figure out exactly, what you're really ready to be committed to, because that changes the plan. This student taking 5 classes, they're going to have a different plan than the student over here taking 3 classes. That's where we'll get more of those must takes. So when it comes to actually registering for classes, you have to know when the registration itself actually opens. And so that first starts typically in June. I have those dates a little bit later on. So like I said, plan A, B, and C. And here's what we always recommend. When you're going to one of the big campuses, the second registration opens, whether that's on June 10th at 9:30 a.m., you need to be at your computer. You need to be ready with those, again, those plans, plan A, plan B, plan C, because you are going to be competing with thousands of other people. The system will crash because it's getting so much traffic simultaneously. So you just need to be ready for that. So typically, this is just one of the things. It's really common actually. If you're a student and registration opens in June sometime, again, I'm just going to use June 10th as the example date here. We usually recommend tell your boss, hey, I'm gonna be late for work, or book that morning off or something, because it can sometimes take an hour or 2 to get registered, because like I said, that system crashes a little bit. It's quite frequent. Lots of employers kind of understand that, this person's a student, they're asking for time off to register for classes. They get it. It's fine. For USask, you register for your fall classes and your winter classes at the same day. So when registration opens at whatever day in June, you register for both of those. With U of R, it's a little bit different. You register for your spring, summer, and fall classes in March. So that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. And then once it gets to winter, for your winter classes, you will do that in October or November. The dates depend on how many credits you've taken and whatnot with U of R. And with USask, the dates just depend on, are you a year 1 student, a year 2 student, a year 3 student? Are you a nursing student, a ag student, a this student, a that student? So they have different predefined schedules. If you go to PAWS or UR courses, they will tell you exactly which one of those you're in. And then, like I said, the advisors can also help you out with that. For St. Peter's College, our registration opening is the exact same as U of S, because it uses the exact same system. There's typically a little bit less competition for classes though. So, if you're not on at 9:30 a.m. that day, it's typically not too big of a big panic. The only thing that might happen is you don't get the Tuesday lab, you get the Friday lab, but you'll get the classes you need. We still recommend registering early, especially because of COVID. I don't know what's happening with the main campuses this year. We are going to be open for in-person classes for fall 2021, just as we have been for fall 2020 and winter 2021. And so typically what ends up happening is you get a lot of main campus students who are trying to register in our classes right now. So we recommend just register early. That way, boom, you're good to go. And you're not, having the anxiety about your seat being taken. Textbooks is another big one. A lot of people actually are really proactive with this. They try and get this done in like, July and stuff like that, which is awesome. But typically those actually won't be available until August, especially COVID. COVID's really slowed that process down a lot. Some people didn't figure out what textbook they needed until the week before classes started. So you can check this regularly through USask. You can do it through My Textbooks in Pause. Through U of R, you do it through something called Textbook Express. And for SPC, same thing. You do it through USask, but we'll usually just go a step further as well and just figure out what our profs are saying you need. Because sometimes they'll say, you need this book and this book, but you only needed the first one. Sometimes there's like online codes that they say you need that you don't actually need. But a good rule of thumb is typically if they say you need a code, you should probably just get it, because they can be a ginormous pain to actually acquire separately. It is possible to acquire most or all of those codes separately, but it is a very time consuming and frustrating process that almost never saves you a lot of money. So you might save like $10 or $20 for a 3 or 4 hour thing that you don't want to deal with. Feel free to ask your instructor for details about the textbook though, especially as you get into like the second, third, and fourth year. There might be a prof who says you need these 5 textbooks, but you only needed the first one. So that's typically a good way to be able to figure some of that stuff out. So yeah, for this one, honestly, August, and you'll be fine. Academic supports. These are ones that a lot of students and parents don't really aren't aware that exist. And this is going to be true for USask, SPC, and University of Regina. So there's free first year writing, math, study, and science supports there. There's something called AES. This is a USask thing that St. Peter's College also follows. So those are accommodations and supports for a variety of different challenges. So students with physical disabilities, learning disabilities, with mental health concerns, anxiety, depression. If you have circumstantial issues, like perhaps you're, you might be pregnant, or you broke your leg. Those are all things that you might need accommodations for. So they are there to help you out with permanent or temporary solutions and accommodations to kind of help assist you. The libraries are a really big one as well. They offer tons of the supports. So they deal specifically with a lot of first year students and giving them like sessions to make sure that they're able to get caught up to speed. And we typically recommend that if you're aware that, if you're the student who got through high school, honestly, without having to study a lot, you actually probably should talk to an advisor about academic supports available to you. Oh boy, I'm already starting to run out of time, so I'm going to power through this. For expected grades, this is another big one as well. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm a 90s high school student. I'll be fine. I'll get those 80s in university. Not quite. There's a reason honor roll is typically listed from 75% to 80%. It is an honor. You are distinguished if you get on those lists for a reason. Expect your grades to drop. 20% is honestly a pretty good range there. That is fairly accurate. If you were making A's in high school, you very well could be pulling off some 60s in university. And now that's not always true. But again, big part of it is typically your study skills need to improve a lot, both in terms of quantity and in terms of quality. Just because you're spending 8 hours a day studying doesn't mean that the person who's doing it for 6 hours a day and doing it more efficiently or doing a better method that works for them isn't going to surpass you there. Typically the average first year is high 60s, low 70s. This is true for all 3 institutions. We're pretty happy with our students' student progress. A lot of our students are on track to honor roll, actually. One thing I will say is that a quote unquote smart student who does not study regularly, those are the students who, I got A's in high school and I never had to study once. They will be outperformed by a lower achieving student who regularly studies. Study skills are the key to get you through your first year of university. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, money. I did do a previous talk about this, so I'm just going to really quickly touch on some of the brief notes. If you want to see the whole thing, I'll show you where you can actually find that. It's a quick 20-minute thing just like this. Really recommend that you go and look at that. Let's talk about scholarships. I love talking about scholarships. You have I'm just talking about the universities right now, but whatever post-secondary institution you're looking at, there will be scholarships available. With USask, there's 3 of them. There's the guaranteed entrance scholarship. So you apply, you get in, boom, here's your money. There's the best and brightest scholarship. That deadline has passed, but typically that is your free ride. That is your, you know, $10,000 a year, $8,000 a year for 4 years. And there's the competitive entrance scholarships. Those actually close next week. So if you have not started registering for them and applying for them, you need to get on that right now, because you need to get like letters of reference and stuff like that. And so teachers will need time to process that and whatnot. With St. Peter's College, you get to keep all those USask scholarships, make it nice and easy for you. Ours open up on May 1st and they close on June 20th. We'll have further details for you pretty quickly here about what that looks like. We just have a couple new scholarships, so we just need to finalize the paperwork on that. With University of Regina, they have, similar to USask, automatic entrance scholarships. You applied to university, you got accepted, boom, there you go. There's your money. They automatically consider you for it. Then they also have their entrance awards. That's March 15th. Loans and grants, I talked a lot about this in my previous session, but typically, just condensing it down here, student loans, you have 2 options. You can do a private bank loan. I recommend trying to avoid that if you can, because you typically pay a little bit higher interest, and that most importantly, that interest accumulates while you're a student. Whereas with the Saskatchewan government student loan, which is, so the Saskatchewan government student loan, it's basically a collaboration between the Saskatchewan government and the federal government, combining that into one loan period, I guess. So that will typically have a little bit lower interest. The biggest thing here, though, is that does not accumulate while you're a student. So you are in an interest-free loan, so as long as you're meeting the conditions, which is basically don't fail and keep attending school. Once you are in repayment, though, that interest can be claimed on your income tax. They open in July. I don't have the exact date for you. They haven't released it yet, but it is sometime in July. And once it is available, we will be emailing our students and posting on our social media and whatnot, as will probably every other institution, to tell students to apply now, because it can take a couple weeks sometimes for those to get processed. They do a really good job, but they really only have like 6 weeks-ish to get all of the student loans processed in the province. So it takes a while still. And if you're like a resident student, for example, you might need all that money up front. And then there's grants money. So grants are money that do not need to be paid back. So here's $1,000 grant for education. You're not paying that back. You get to do with what you want for it. I call it free money because it's fantastic. Those are offered from the Saskatchewan government student loans for some people. Not everyone qualifies. The amounts differ, but it's great. And then summer jobs. This is another one that a lot of people don't really think about until they get to their second and third year, because they've realized this mistake. Honestly, it sounds quite intuitive. Hey, I made it through my first year of university. Hurrah. Now you need to start thinking about summer jobs. I know that's very, very early. And this is not true for all this government jobs out there. But if you're looking at a Saskatchewan student summer job, some of them open as early as October when you can apply for them. They have their own little like online website portal that you can apply for them on there. And again, it's not all of them. Some of them get added in December. Some of them get added in October. Some of them get added in February. Some of them get added as late as March and April. But that's when some of them start to open. So I honestly, I really recommend that students should be applying for summer jobs months in advance. Typically, a good rule of thumb for everything I've talked about so far is avoid procrastination, get on it early, and you will be A-okay. This is especially true for summer jobs. If you choose to wait, 6 months, you choose to wait till March or April to start looking for summer jobs, I guarantee you a lot of opportunities have passed up that you might have really wanted. And those really proactive students might have got it, which also serves as a nice double purpose. A lot of students forget about this. They don't really, oh, I didn't know I needed to apply in December. That means there's less competition as well for sometimes the better jobs. So you really want to make sure that you're keeping on regular lookout for summer jobs. Now, I did a whole thing about the cost of education, just how much it does cost. So I have a little bit of I just recorded this exact same thing that we're doing right now. That was a 20-minute quick thing, just talked about, how much does it cost, where you get that funding from, what are the costs of fees, et cetera, et cetera. If you want, you can just go to our St. Peter's College YouTube channel. Honestly, just go to YouTube, type in St. Peter's College Munster, and you should end up get in where you need to go. If you can't find it though, I'll be happy to put that into the link of the chat for you. And finally, the biggest thing is you really want to make sure you keep up to date. I'm not sure 100% what U of R does, but with St. Peter's College, we typically go through 3 primary things. One, we have, I'll post this in the chat. Where's my chat? So I just posted in the chat, you can sign up for our monthly information emails. We have one for parents. We have one for confirmed students. We have one for prospective students. I'm thinking about St. Peter's. I'm going to St. Peter's, and my child is going to St. Peter's. We also have some for parents and teachers and career counselors and whatnot. So there's a couple different options there. Honestly, if you go to that link I just posted in the chat, you scroll all the way down, there's that little I want to subscribe to. Just fill out that little information page. And you can put in career counselor updates or student updates, and you'll be good to go. We typically recommend booking an advising appointment in early June. We will be releasing our class schedule. So we'll be starting to advise incoming first-year students about what classes they should take exactly and when those classes are exactly. Typically, it'll be sometime in May, but registration opens up in June. So as long as you're in before that registration deadline, you'll be A-okay. We can help you with your main campus class selections as well. We have a Facebook, a Twitter, an Instagram, and a YouTube. So there's a couple different options there. For USask, they've been promoting their usas.future.students Instagram account quite frequently as well. But honestly, if you follow their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you should get the updates that you need. We'll also be, helping the students out with that. Because at the end of the day, all of our students are USask students. They have to follow the same deadlines. And they also have reminders and program information as well. If you want that link, I can get that to you. But honestly, we'll still be providing that through the SBC side of things. That's kind of what I have here. Like I said, I wanted to get this down to 20 minutes. I understand a lot of you have probably a lot of different questions. So if that's the case, feel free to type that into the Q&A, not the chat, and I'll be happy to answer those out for you. Otherwise, you can send me an email directly, or you can contact me on the phone. I'll post a link to our, contact information, stuff. I will post a link. Here we go. To how you can contact the St. Peter's College staff. Typically, Crystal and I will be who you'd be dealing with. So if you just email Crystal or myself or phone us, those are direct lines, we'd be happy to help out. But thank you all for attending. That's really everything I have. I'll be on standby here for a couple of minutes. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in, or you can email me, or you can phone me, or you can email Crystal, or you can phone Crystal. If you want to sign up for, monthly information, you can always unsubscribe at any time. You can go through the chat, that little newsletter thing, and scroll to the bottom. But otherwise, that's everything I have for you folks. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and attend this.